Hey everybody, what's going on? Dr. Jeff Langmay, the evidence-based chiropractor, and today I wanted to break down an MRI. We are back with our clinical series now that I am back from Berlin, and we're going to look at a fluid collection. I want to know if you think you can spot it. We're going to take a look at the images, kind of break things down level by level. It is post-surgical, so you'll see some hardware there. If you're unfamiliar, it'll be a good opportunity to check that out. And we will look again to see what's up with that fluid collection, and we'll talk even a little bit about, is it relevant clinically? Is it not relevant clinically? How does that work out? Now, with all that being said, I always like to give the caveat, make sure you have your neuroradiologist or your chiropractic radiologist looking over your films. It's a great idea, but the reason we do these clinical series is so that you can pop in the disc yourself, not only have to rely on the report, but pop the disc in, not break out into a cold sweat when you need to look at those sagittals and those axials, but you kind of got a good idea of what you're doing aside from just looking at the report. So without further ado, we'll hop on over to the images. Maybe, there we go. Cool. So we have a lumbar spine MRI on the screen. And as you can see, this low back has definitely seen better days. There is no question about that. And as always, I like to break things out. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see my sagittal view, T2 weighted image. That's the way I like to view things. And I always do that. I always bring up the two frames. Left-hand side of the screen, I always like to have my sagittal. Right-hand side of the screen over here, where I'm moving around right now, I always like to have my axials. So I like to break those out immediately, get my T2s up, sagittals on the left, axials on the right, and that gives me a great starting point. Now, if we go over to our sagittals here and we start to take a look, let's get to our midline or as close as possible. What you can see is, again, this low back has seen better days, right? We have our vertebral bodies right here, 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 and here. We have sacrum hanging out down here. So let's take a closer look. When we move from there, we got a spondy hanging out right here. No question about it. Look at how far that vertebra has slipped forward. Then we go above that. Well, let's go down actually first. That looks like something might have happened right there, right? That does not look like a normal disc space, and below does not look like a normal disc space as well. We'll get into that in a moment as we move the image laterally. But let's go up first. We can see here there's a disc bulge hanging out the backside, and there is supreme degenerative change across the end plate. Yikes. Now let's go up one more. Wow. We have a disc extrusion probably hanging out down the backside caudally there. We have degenerative changes throughout that disc space. This area is a mess. We go to the posterior aspect. This looks like it could be ligamentum flavum or a facet issue. That is a very, very, very tight canal. As you know, that skunk stripe going down the backside, that is where the spinal canal resides, and where cauda equina at this point is broken out and going down. And that is a narrow, narrow pathway. We go from the width of a three-lane highway all the way down to a sidewalk right here with a lot of dark stuff hanging out, disc material anteriorly pushing posterior, and more than likely ligament or facet hypertrophy pushing anterior from the posterior. Crunch. That's a tight spot to be in. When we go up above that, hey, the disc spaces start to look a little nicer and cleaner, but we still have some various bulges hanging out the backside. So, where is that fluid collection? Can anybody see it? Does anybody want to type a comment down below, give a thumbs up or something like that? That would be cool. If anybody can see it, going once, going twice. We have the big fluid collection posterior right here. Look at that big white space. That is the fluid collection. Now, I talked about surgery. Where is that? Let's go laterally a little bit. And lo and behold, we see a lot of hardware. We see a multi-level lower lumbar fusion. Posterior lumbar fusion. This is that lift. Lumbar inner body fusion. And lo and behold, within that is where that fluid collection resides. Now, what I have read is that fluid collections are very, very, very common post-surgically. The good news is most fluid dissipates over time if it does not become encapsulated or become what we'd call a seroma, which is an encapsulated fluid collection. Fluid naturally happens. When you make an incision, you're digging around on the inside, you're taking stuff out. something fills that space. And it's either going to be scar tissue or fluid most of the time. So yeah, you can take your pick as far as which one's better or worse. The nice thing about fluid is while fluid typically fills in that space, the fluid does normally dissipate throughout time as long as it doesn't become encapsulated. If scar tissue gets in there, which scar tissue is always going to happen with every surgical intervention, scar tissue gets in there, that's taking up space, that ain't going anywhere. So at least with the fluid, there's an opportunity for it to go away throughout time. And we see a huge fluid collection posterior to that lower lumbar spine where that previous fusion, multi-level fusion took place. And we see above the fusion, what do you know? Above the fusion, we see pretty significant adjacent segment issues. Now let's hop over to our axials here and get a bird's eye view. Wow, we talked about how tight, let me get back to it. Look how tight that is right here. Look how that is severe. This is lateral recess stenosis. We have ligamentum flavum hypertrophy. We have a little bit of fluid in the facets, and that spinal cord is absolutely crunched. Lateral recess stenosis, central stenosis, triangulation of the canal. It is all going on at that level. Let's continue on down. Look at how much that canal pops open. Look at that. That's a happy spinal canal right there. Let's get down to that last unfused segment. Not too bad. Look at that white triangle. The canal is looking pretty good. And as we cruise on down, we see that hardware take shape and that huge fluid collection posteriorly. So this big white circle is the same as we are looking at right here on the left. And in front of that, anterior, is the spinal canal, which is what we see here, wide open. And throughout that fusion site, let's go all the way down to complete it, the spinal canal stays wide open throughout that fusion site. So that looks great. But we see significant challenge above, right? Significant challenge above that fusion site in terms of central stenosis, compression, the whole kit and caboodle. But we also see a residual fluid collection hanging out right there. Now, is that clinically relevant? That's kind of what we started the conversation with. The answer is sometimes. If this individual had obviously a follow-up MRI post-surgically, couple things could be going on. Number one, the symptoms still exist. It probably is slightly different symptoms, but they are crunched up above, right? Severe central stenosis, no question there's symptomatology, and there's probably foraminal stenosis going on like crazy as well. Pinched nerves, that compression is going to cause dysfunction and pain a significant portion of the time when it's this severe. So they might have come back for that, but they also might have came back because of pain at their previous surgery site. And I have seen that in terms of pain, big fluid collections causing just tissue alteration. It's just it's inflammatory by nature. So when you see that encapsulated fluid, it not only takes up space, becomes a space-occupying lesion to a certain degree, but it also can create a really inflammatory landscape on the inside. And if it's close to nerves, if it's close to where a dorsal root ganglia is passing through, depending upon the exact position of that fluid, it can not only cause chemical inflammation, true inflammation, but it can cause also compression as well because it takes up so much space. But I'll tell you, sometimes we look at these films and we say, hey, that fluid collection is there. It's not causing your issues. It's very clear. It's that severe central stenosis above. Let's talk about that. So this is where it is so important to not only look at the report that you're receiving, because sometimes the reports can be deceiving. Sometimes the reports might say severe central cord stenosis above. That's where you immediately want to look. It says severe, and the problem might be elsewhere. And vice versa. Sometimes you will see a challenge somewhere else that might not seem to be that big of a deal and another up above or below. This is why it is important for us as chiropractors to not only rely on the reports, but to pop these CDs in, confidently be able to go through them, rectify them against the reports, pick up any challenges, and pick up the phone and call your radiologist if you happen to see something that does not add up. So that was a quick review of a post-surgical lumbar spine and a fluid collection accompanying it. If you want to see more videos like this, comment below and let me know. I know the clinical series has gone up and down in popularity, so if you're interested in me breaking down MRIs week after week and kind of looking at it from a clinical context point of view, be sure to leave me a comment below. Let me know that that's what you would like to see more of, and I'll be happy to do so. And if you have any questions on this whatsoever, leave those down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.